Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an incredible day. To start things off, cryptocurrency exchange known as Binance has launched not one, but two test platforms for its planned crypto futures products, dubbed Futures A and Futures B. Okay, the new testnets are now open for users to play with using dummy assets, with new competitions to encourage traders to get involved. On Monday, Binance announced on its website that users will be able to vote for their favorite futures testnet. As for the competitions, Binance said it will award prizes totaling 10,000 Binance coin, worth around 215,000 US dollars at the time, for each platform. In early July, Binance founder and CEO Changpeng Zhao revealed that crypto futures were on the way, showcasing a trading interface with features including longs and shorts on crypto assets. I think, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of days ago, I think that Binance said that they were going to be officially launching their Bitcoin futures on their platform in September. This is maybe why they have the entire thing going on, because I'm fairly certain that they're trying to beat the people from the New York Stock Exchange before they launched their Bitcoin futures, tying almost directly into this as well. The Malta firm announced today, that is once again Binance, that JEX is rebranding to Binance JEX, adding that the acquisition would grant them the rights to manage JEX tokens, the native cryptocurrency of the JEX platform. They have acquired a China-based JAX spot and derivatives platform known as JAX for an undisclosed amount. They said in the longer term, JEX tokens will be gradually distributed to all users via marketing activities and communities incentives. Subsequently, the tokens will be gradually retrieved and burned in various forms, including trading commission deductions and so on. Binance JEX will for now maintain all existing services of the acquired platform, which includes spot trading facilities for 21 cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ether, EOS, BNB. Meanwhile, Binance JEX will also inherit JEX's crypto derivative solutions as a part of the acquisition. The move would enable the amalgamated entity to offer margined Bitcoin futures contracts. Once again, like I said, tying into their futures thing that they're trying to launch. The announcement from the leading crypto exchange closely follows this July announcement of building a derivatives platform that would feature perpetual swaps. The exchange said last week that it's going to go ahead with its plans in September, which later saw it launching two new trading platforms. Yeah, okay, so yeah, I was right. I'm pretty sure it's going to launch sometime in September as well. Binance is doing a lot. The thing that we have right now is that people are trying to launch derivatives, things that are derived from Bitcoin. It's a very big, I can't even get into how large the market is. The main focus of what's happening in the world right now is that as we keep getting potential indications that the world's economy is not faring very well and may not do so in the future, institutional investors, people who are used to trading on the stock markets, what have you, so on and so forth, are going to eventually, if not now, then sometime in the future, start looking for a new place to be able to trade, to do what they were doing before. And this is why we see so many cryptocurrency exchanges launching this, launching that, launching futures, derivatives over and over and over and over and over again, simply trying to match current offerings in stock markets. So a lot of it may not directly pertain to people in the cryptocurrency space who are just buying and holding, but it's great for the cryptocurrency space because a lot of people who have already left the traditional financial markets and have moved over to cryptocurrencies, they want and, dare I say, need things like this to be able to kind of get more into the market anyway. But like I always, Binance is doing a lot. I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. Anyway, here's the actual article right here from them. It says, "Battle for Binance futures. The futures are in your hands." Little cheesy, but it's fine. Let's move on. Next up, privacy coins are facing a unique risk: delisting from exchanges just because of their privacy issues. In the past years, Japanese market operators have stopped offering those assets, and more recently, Coinbase UK delisted Zcash. The next British market operator to delist the tokens is CEX_IO. Dash and Zcash will be delisted on the 15th of September. The British exchange confirmed the delisting, pointing out that as the chief regulations in various jurisdictions, this leaves UK-based buyers with slimmer access to anonymous coins. The delistings could be due to banking issues. It's not. As well as transparency requirements for the blockchain itself. Kind of. The Bitcoin network is much more transparent, and law enforcement agencies have been able to scrutinize addresses for illegal, air quote, activities. The stricter regulations follow the recommendation guidelines from the Financial Action Task Force. Local regulators are also stricter, following the increased awareness of digital assets after Facebook proposed launch of Libra in 2020. Working backwards, I wonder exactly if we would be still getting the same amount of attention in the cryptocurrency space as we're currently getting right now. Obviously, the answer is no. Facebook did a very weird thing to the cryptocurrency. They threw us. We were lurking in the shadows before, and they threw us directly into the sunlight because regulators did not care about the cryptocurrency space. Kind of, a tiny bit. Remember the news that we kept on getting in 2017 and 2018? It was constantly that Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, this one, so on and so forth, are no risk. We've checked. There's no problem. They're totally fine. Let's move on. It was always the same. We heard it from every single major central bank around the world. But the moment that Facebook, I think in June, announced that they were going to be thinking of potentially launching Libra, regulators lost their minds. The other part to pay attention to is that regulators around the world are already not friendly with cryptocurrencies, and they're even less friendly to coins where they can't track the transactions. I was listening to, and I said that phrase a lot, it's because I do. I was listening to a podcast about the future of Bitcoin private transactions and things where it has to do with, like, oh gosh, I can't remember all the names. It's like Taproot and Mimblewimble and all these other things that they're talking about potentially launching on top of the Bitcoin network. And a lot of them can actually be done with a soft fork. Very easy update that doesn't have to involve the potential splitting of the blockchain once again. A lot of them have similarities to what we have called coin joins. So the idea is that if you're as law enforcement agencies have figured out ways to track cryptocurrency addresses, transactions back and forth, they can tell that it went from here to here to here to here to here. If it ever hit here to someone who the government said you should not be dealing with, and it went here, 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 and then eventually got back to you, your coin, because of the UTXO, pretty much, like, you can see like a list of all the transactions that have happened through the coins that you have. Your transaction is seen as dirty on the network. So what they do is these things called coin joins. And let's say you are trying to send a Bitcoin to a friend. Now, at the same exact time, 30 other people around the world are also trying to send one Bitcoin. Your Bitcoins get joined together and they kind of sent out in opposite directions to someone else in a different way. It's kind of like you can't really tell who sent it, where it came from, so and so, because so many of them have been joined together in the same transaction, sent out at the exact same time, and no one knows where they came from. Amazing, awesome, fantastic. In the future, we are going to have private transactions on Bitcoin. If not within the next 3 years, we are going to have more private transactions across many different blockchains. I think regulators are going to freak out. I am hoping, and I think that this is all happening on purpose, my opinion. I feel like we won't have private transactions on Bitcoin until Bitcoin has passed by the $1 trillion market cap. This is how I felt for a very long time. That's a $50,000 Bitcoin. Simply because I think Bitcoin has to be big enough for it to be, Bitcoin's already unstoppable, but it needs to get a bit bigger. And this is when these other things will start to unfold across all of the other cryptocurrency networks. I mentioned before in 2018 that I wasn't into, whoa, sorry if you heard that. That was my microphone. I think I pulled it too hard. Anyway, I kept on saying that I wasn't into privacy coins. I was not into Zcash, Dash, Monero. People kept on asking me why. Because of reasons like this. I think coins that offer private transactions are going to do fairly well in the future. I think they will always have a purpose. I think people will find a need for them and continue to use them. However, I'm not too convinced about their long-term prices, but that does not even... There's no worry for me in my head that by the time Bitcoin ends up getting private transactions, that is going to be more so of a household name that people won't simply be able to stop it. Anyway, didn't mean to spend too much time on this. The entire reasoning being is that regulators around the world in multiple countries, it is not just the United Kingdom. It's all over the place. I even mentioned this last year when US regulators, they mentioned, I think it was Dash and Zcash by name. And I was like, red flag. Like, something's wrong. They hesitated every single time to even think of mentioning Bitcoin. But the moment they said those coins out loud, I said, I know why. And I mean, like I said, I think they will potentially continue to do well in the future. However, just watch out if you are holding them, because regulators are going to come down. If regulators are coming down heavy on Libra, just imagine what they're going to do to something that they can't even figure out where it's going. They have no idea what's happening. Anyway, let's move on. Here's a really interesting story right here. Bitcoin futures trading volume on the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange Group's platform, is posting record numbers this year. Current Bitcoin future trading activity is at its highest since August 2018. Bitcoin has surged dramatically since the beginning of the year. It's at $3,000 and is actually over $10,000. This article is actually a bit late on the pricing. CME Group Marketing Director and Global Head of Equity Products and Alternative Investments, Tim McCourt, told Forbes, he said, year to date, Bitcoin futures are averaging 7,237 contracts per day, which is a 132% increase from the same period last year. The CME and the Chicago Board Options Exchange, the CBOE, introduced USD settled Bitcoin futures trading contracts in 2017. At the time, Bitcoin futures were considered one of the first major steps towards bringing Bitcoin towards trading options to mainstream traders and investors, once again tying into the same exact thing with them offering derivatives. Traditional financial market investors want things like this, and therefore this is why they are now being offered. In May 2019, CME's platform traded an average of over 13,000 daily Bitcoin contracts, which is around $515 million, or around 68,000 Bitcoin. Once again, $500 million in daily contracts. McCourt said on 13th of May, Bitcoin traded a record single day of 33,677 contracts, equivalent to 168,000 Bitcoin, or 1.3 billion US dollars. When you ask why or remain perplexed, I'm sure it's not everyone at this point, as to why I'm very excited for Bitcoin futures on the New York Stock Exchange, this is going to be major. First of all, the CME is relatively well known. If you're in the financial markets, you should know at least what the Mercantile Exchange is. Should know. However, I bet everyone out there has definitely heard of the New York Stock Exchange. I can't say I know for certain, but one would assume with as large as the New York Stock Exchange is, they're going to blow this completely out of the water. We are going to have situations where on a daily basis, we're going to have these numbers. If there are people trading on a single day, 1.3 billion US dollars worth of Bitcoin, 168,000. You know how much Bitcoin 168,000 Bitcoin is? That's almost as much as the Winklevis hold. That's an enormous amount of money, and it's all just in Bitcoin. So imagine when we actually have physical Bitcoin futures. I'm expecting, especially if we get to a point where Bitcoin is 30 to 40, maybe even 50,000 US dollars, and let's say a hard Brexit happens, let's say the trade war continues, let's say hyperinflation continues in Venezuela, let's say Brazil continues having problems, Argentina continues having problems, the Turkish lira continues hyperinflating, and all these things happening, we are going to have moments where we are going to see around 300 to 400,000, if not more, Bitcoin being traded just on the New York Stock Exchange. This is absolutely insane. I don't understand, or rather, I don't know if people understand the gravity of how large and how insane this is, how much money is flowing through this. Keeping in mind, once again, that's billions of dollars flowing on a monthly basis, billions flowing back and forth, just trading Bitcoin, when Bitcoin has been trading between 8, 9, 10,000 over the last couple of months. Think about how much interest is now in the space. We didn't have any of these things. Like, think of what the world was like 3 years ago when we didn't have any of these products. Now we do have them. Imagine when more institutions get into these things. This is what I always talk about. Like, when we talk about really big money getting into this space, this is not even this is the 1 millimeter of a millimeter of the iceberg that's going to be getting into the cryptocurrency space. There's going to be an avalanche of money. This is, okay, I feel like in the future, there's going to be an avalanche of money that's going to cascade into the space. And I think a lot of people won't know how to deal with it. And this is why we've seen so much work from the institutions desperately trying to make sure that their systems are correct, that their custody is correct, that they have all the paperwork in order so that they can actually get to all this stuff like this. Anyway, and this may also be, if you didn't realize, keeping in mind, remember the people from Ledger X who believed that they had been told that they had been given the thumbs up to also launch their Bitcoin futures because they were trying to make this kind of money, and they were sidetracked by the CFTC. Anyway, let's move on. Venezuela, talking about them, is once again in the news. Bitcoin trading has hit a giant new record yet again in Venezuela as the country's crippling hyperinflation continues to play out. Data published on the 2nd of September from monitoring resource CoinDance, which tracks trading volumes on peer-to-peer crypto trading platforms, showed Venezuela trading more last week than ever before. In the 7 days ending the 31st of August, 114 billion bolivars changed hands on local Bitcoins alone. Local Bitcoins is a website and an app where you can meet people in a cafe to buy Bitcoin. 114 billion just on local Bitcoins alone. That figure dwarfed the previous record set the week before, okay, at 77 billion. In Bitcoin terms, the uptick was far smaller, rising from 465 to 533 Bitcoin. Here's the actual chart right here. It looks absolutely insane. I'm glad continuously, always, that people around the world are finding ways to accumulate, buy, get a hold of, store cryptocurrencies, and even more so as we're on the topic of it, Bitcoin. I think it's very important because Bitcoin is meant for everyday normal people to be able to have access to their funds when we have control over fiat systems by governments. That's the nicest way of saying it. So I'm always happy when I see increased and not even renewed continual interest in the Bitcoin markets, people buying up Bitcoin, people accumulating Bitcoin, even if it's just tiny fragments, how much this will change their lives in the future. Anyway, it's really weird. Every single week we keep getting new news about Venezuela and many other countries, like just setting new records every single week on local Bitcoins. You think it's going to end, but eventually this spike right here will look something around this spike. As I assume I always assume there will be a mad dash once we break out of this trading range and Bitcoin starts skyrocketing up. That's going to be a very big moment for a lot of people in the cryptocurrency space, especially for those of you who are relatively new. As the market starts really picking up steam, you're going to notice, and you may, especially like I said, if you're brand new, it's going to be kind of scary for a while because you're going to notice there's going to be like a ravenous thirst for people trying to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. Anyway, it happened in 2017. It was exciting. It was also a little kind of out there because you realize just how much of a fevered rush was actually taking place. And to kind of finish things off in one of the, most expected bits of news that we could have gotten. Banking details of Indians with accounts in Switzerland will now be made available to tax authorities from Sunday. That was yesterday, as the automatic exchange of information regime kicks off between the two countries. I remember hearing about this a couple of weeks ago, and apparently there was very few details as if this was actually going to end up happening. The move, the Central Bank of Direct Taxes said, is a significant step in the government's fight, air quotes, against black money, and the era of the Swiss bank secrecy will finally be over from September. Between the 29th of August and the 30th of August, a Swiss delegation led by Deputy Head of the Tax Division in the State Secretariat for International Finance, Nicolas Mario Luscher, called on Revenue Secretary A.B. Panderi, not reading all those names, before the regime kicked in. It said, the point is, this was all over the news today. Everyone was really, it's major headline news. A lot of countries around the world have announced that countries feel like they're being skipped out on taxes. One of the main ways they feel like they're being skipped out on taxes is through Swiss bank accounts or other countries that are known as tax havens, where pretty much you can put your money and not have the government know, because the government feels that they should know everything that you have and therefore it should also be taxed. I was also listening to something a couple of days ago on a podcast. It was the craziest thing in the entire world. The people from the Wall Street Journal, they were talking about how there was a discussion, I think within the United States, and also I think, some other country, where governments are trying to think about imposing taxes on assets as well as money that's in your bank account. So imagine a world where you have money in your bank account and you already pay however much you pay per month to the bank to be able to hold your money there. But you would also get taxed on a yearly basis for the amount of cash that you also had in your account. And also, the government would also tax you. They would go around, fill out a piece of paper, and write down all of your assets, and they would tax you on that at the end of the year as well. What a time to be alive. It's just it's absolutely insane. I know that a couple of years ago, the United States already had an accord, or rather, from what I read, the United States told Swiss authorities, you can no longer hide information from our citizens within your borders. So I think that U.S. citizens are still legally able to have Swiss accounts. However, all that information does now have to be shared with U.S. authorities, which is, to be fair, some of these people are bagajillionaires. So, I get what the reasoning from the government and stuff like that. But eventually, a lot of this ends up trickling down to normal people. And a lot of that money ends up going to places where we never end up seeing roads fixed. Like the infrastructure doesn't get built back up. Schools don't get any kind of help. So you always wonder whose pocket this money actually ends up going into. And even more so, just to be 1,000% realistic with everyone out there, I'm certain that people who had Swiss bank accounts who were going to be affected by this probably just move their money to some other country. That's usually how it ends up working. At least in the documentaries, not documents that I actually end up watching. Anyway, as always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. Miller hits chest every day, and Kyle skips leg day. Minting coins, Jeremy Fox, Jim Gardner, Anthony Charles, Nick Mangialavori, Paxis, Cryptonebeer, Shipmate, Vlad the Impaler, Richie Rich III, Nick Kanaya, Setsuna, Damian, Nicholas, Renato, One Piece, One Love, Cryptopolis, Crypto Artist, Cole D3D, Strange Radio Central, Mechanic, JR, Milweezy, Adobo, Bankroll Network, Crypto Joe, 242 to the World, Wise Night Owl, Jared Schneider, Triple M&J, Woody and Daisy, Brady Niels, Master Ventures in Thailand, Mohammed Maroni, Adam Graysick, and Professor Wally from Gunbot University. Thank you all very, very much for your support. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, or great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. The future looks very, very bright for all of us. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.